The Arcturians are a benevolent and highly evolved race from the Arcturus star system. And what you're about to hear is wisdom that they have to share with us about activating our desires brought through by a gifted channel. What is up, Ascenders? Welcome back to another episode of Awaken, where we have conversations to assist you in ascending your consciousness and actualizing your highest purpose and potential. My name is Brian Henry. I'm the founder of Together We Ascend and your host of the show. And today I am super pumped up to be bringing to you the wisdom of the Arcturians brought through by gifted channel Yolanda Marie. But just before we jump into that, if you are one of those that are on a path of awakening and on this path have heard the call to assist in collective ascension, well, we're looking for you. The Ascend Academy is a community of awakened leaders who have come together to ascend together. And if you are new here, or perhaps you haven't yet heard, we just recently brought this show to being a live gathering experience, giving the members in our community the opportunity to not only be there in the energy of these conversations as they're happening live, but to also ask the guests on the show their own questions, because after the conversation that I have with our guests, we now have a exclusive Q&A segment available to the live audience. So if you are interested in looking to connect with a like-minded and like-hearted community of others who are also consciously on a path of ascension, well, we'd love to have you join us at one of our future Awaken Live gatherings and the Ascend Academy community, which you can find at academy.togetherweascend.com. And lastly, if you are new here and you are interested in receiving more content being created to assist you in your ascension process, I invite you to subscribe to the YouTube channel or the podcast, wherever you're listening to this from. And with that being said, what do you say we jump into today's conversation? This is Awaken with Yolanda Marie. All across the globe, there have been people who have had their own unique experiences of the presence of a collective consciousness that presents themselves as the Arcturians. These experiences, while certainly varied and unique, all seem to be pointing to the same underlying truth, that the Arcturians are a benevolent and highly evolved consciousness who are here assisting humanity and our planetary collective consciousness, Gaia, in ascending to higher planes of understanding and unity. The Arcturians have been doing so through both seen and unseen measures, including the messages that they share with the support of human channels. Yolanda Marie is one such channel. She's a gifted teacher, a dear friend, and what can be called a Blue Ray Arcturian Channel. She has a direct conscious connection with the ninth dimensional Arcturian Council for the purpose of bringing in and teaching information to elevate us to our next level of consciousness and evolution. For over 4 years, Yolanda has been sharing the messages she has been channeling from the Arcturians on her YouTube channel. And one quick look at the comments sections to her videos, and you'll know that they have been having a profound impact on those who have come across it. Today, we are fortunate enough to have Yolanda here to help us awaken our quantum mastery and to our power as conscious creator beings. And for those of you who are tuned in for the live experience, we have something special in store for you, because afterwards, you'll also be receiving the unique opportunity to ask the Arcturians your own questions, their responses channeled through Yolanda, to receive guidance specifically around whatever it is you're seeking clarity on. Buckle up, friends, because I am so sure that this is going to be a powerful one. Yolanda, it always is with you. I want to thank you for being here and for joining us once again on Awaken.
Very welcome. Let me know if this mic gets loud or pitchy or overly resonant, and et cetera, et cetera. This mic is new to this experience.
You sound perfect.
Just a little. Okay.
Yeah. So I haven't ever known you as one to speak a whole lot about yourself, but I am going to ask if there's any gaps to my little introduction there that you'd like to fill, anything else that you'd like to share in introduction to yourself.
Oh gosh. No, I'm already inundated with what the Arcturians want to talk about, as we discussed during our 30-second parlay, Brian, leading in. Yeah, they kind of made me wait a little bit. They gave me a little bit of information, and then they were like, hold up. All right, let's just get everybody together this morning. And it's not just for those of you who are a little bit newer to specifically me, you know, all of every channel, every healer, which we know a healer is really the activator of healing in someone else, just to be, because, you know, words can be a funny thing, right? And so we're all healers in that way, but there are some magnificent healers on the planet, right? So there are magnificent people who are really just here to do this thing where they incite healing in you. So that wanted to be said, okay, for some reason. All right, so tune into that, you guys. All right, so some of you are here, okay, to cut to the chase there. But for some of you who are a little bit newer to me, I tend to commune, and as many of you do, with more than just one group of beings or one being in particular. Okay, so and I think Brian touched on this because Brian, the Arcturians, we were, you know, stuff was coming through. Okay, but yeah, so my guides are a major part of my experience. They're more integrated with me than they were in the beginning, and that is happening with many of you as well. Other selves, even guides, the knowledge that they have, you would think that that wouldn't integrate with you because that's a separate essence of a being, but that's not necessarily true. Their information, what they've been imparting upon you, is going to become more a part of you and more fluid. So you'll still be able to communicate if you're one who communicates with them as a separate part of self. I mean, don't panic. You'll still be able to communicate with them, but the information that they hold within their being, okay, it's a body of information, is just going to be more available to you. Okay. And so this morning, guides came through a little bit, okay, not specifically, more like a collective. Your higher selves were participating, and there's a lot of confirmation there. So your higher selves, obviously they brought you here, but they're very, very involved for a particular reason that may be uncovered in more detail as we carry on here. And the Arcturians were very, very busy prepping the field, because there have been a lot of what I'm going to refer to as, and this is my human and my higher self, not the Arcturians, but a bunch of energetic shenanigans are afoot, okay? And so there's been a lot of field prep. There's been a lot of clearing this morning that wanted to happen, and it just came through spontaneously. And so we are still going to talk about the mastery. The phrase they put through is quantum mastery, okay? And my human understands that your humans probably know this very well, okay? And this is what the Arcturians are putting through, but more specifically, just to activate specific things in your field, we are going to talk about putting your desired benevolence into the field. Ooh, that was a strange way to put it. That's what they said, okay? Into the field, more appropriately, succinctly. They're saying accurately, do with that what you will. They're saying more expediently. And the reason we are interpreting it in this way is because there are many of you who are more concerned about the whole. This is part of your purpose. And as it should be, there is nothing wrong here. There's nothing wrong with being concerned about the individual or the whole. There is beauty in both, and there is purpose in both. So those of you who are more interested in other words, it's at the forefront of your consciousness more about the whole, must be very, very vigilant not to cast judgment on those who are or appear to be more tuned in to the desires of self, because this is not actually the concern, the issue here. The heart is the main focus of what you are trying to create. whether you are using the holistic avenue or the specific singular avenue to create it. We will speak about this more, but we will get to the point where we are discussing that each of you is a singularity in yourself, and you are creating the universes within self either way. And so it is more about what filter, we will call it a filter. We understand that words are tricky, but it is more about what filter, what color spectrum, what frequency spectrum, what vibrancy this intention comes through. This is always the most unique and brilliant focus to bring forth what you want in an expeditious way. Okay, those are the Arcturians. Brian, I know you asked me a totally different question. You didn't, you didn't ask me about, about myself. Sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Perhaps the perfect introduction to you is your desire to step right into service and be sharing in support of others. So I'm totally okay with where that flow took you. And I'm also very interested in continuing to dive in. So let's actually I want to take one step back and paint a little bit of an overview. When we were connecting prior to this and just collaborating in checking in with what wanted to be explored in this particular experience. Like you shared, quantum mastery was one of the terms that came through. So I think maybe starting with, what is quantum mastery?
Well, and this is what the Arcturians were kind of pinpointing for us a little bit just then, that they're going to specify a bit more quantum mastery, because the word quantum in itself, can be hijacked. Any word, you know what I'm saying? If we are using the word quantum again and again and again and again, and it's through different fields and different teachers and then it can have all of these different meanings. And specifically right now with the scientific community, like in this 3D physical world, because lots of, we're going to call them discoveries, even though that's such a funny term, discoveries. So many things that are coming out in the media right now as discovered or unknown, okay, they are indeed not an actual new discovery. Okay, and some things are distractions, and then some things are this, some things are that. So in this field, in this presence, we know we can go within and determine through a fixed view, through our third eye intelligence and fixed view. So they want to talk about, it's not really fixed. It's a more, but it is. They do want to say fixed. So some of you, if you have, and we're just taking a moment here, there's going to be a lot of information just trickle in. So we'll use this little whiteboard a little bit. It's just like a little paper board, so we don't forget things. But, you might want to jot down a little word here or there, or a little definition as things come through, because they'll tend to come through seemingly spontaneously, but probably for a particular reason in what we think of as time, okay? A particular pinpoint, things will just come through. So now they're talking about this fixed view. And we know, well, what we think we know, right, is that nothing is actually at a fixed point. Everything's in motion. We're going to talk about that. It's actually in motion all of the time. And it's no matter what, no matter the circumstance. The only thing that's not actually at motion at any point in time is the singularity. And the singularity is the conscious pinpoint. It's the nexus point. It's you. Okay? And it's a passionate thing. We're going to get into that. The Arcturians have just started bringing in a lot of this, like this morning, but even during the meditation, more was coming through about activating this in a passionate way. So this fixed, the reason they're using the word fixed is because in the density we've been participating in, we've thought of many things as concrete, right? We've thought we understood the physical laws of what we think of as the third dimension, okay? And, scientists develop theories, and the theories carry into form, and they are tested repeatedly, and they decide that this thing is what it is, and this is how we're going to operate. This is how we're going to measure. This is the word that we're going to call it. And all of these things, each of these things hold a specific vibration. They hold a specific, well, there are different frequencies participating within that, okay? But they're specific to that particular paradigm. Now, they'll have other higher frequency items pop in and out, okay, just to paint you a visual here. But it's mostly tied or tethered to a denser existence. So the Arcturians are saying where you're moving, what you're moving into as you're clearing out. We'll just go ahead and say how your pineal gland was cleared out as you were coming through. Probably at this point, could be for some of you many decades. For some of you, it might be a couple of years, you know, of cleaning things out of your experience, whatever that means for you, no judgment. It could have meant food. It could have meant other people's energetic circumstances, which we'll get into. It could have meant many different things, but some way you were clearing some things out to clear out this, what we're going to refer to as this third eye. I'm calling it a situation. I don't know. The situation of your third eye, okay? And so the clearer it becomes, the closer it gets to what the Arcturians are calling this fixed point. Now, remember, these are words I'm using in the English language, okay? So these words can be translated and used many different ways. Tap into what you're visualizing as I'm speaking. That's much more important than the word that I'm actually using, okay? It's to paint a picture. So the more that that gets clear, is you're approaching this more fixed point, which is a more solid, okay, thank you, a more solid idea of what is exactly going on as it pertains to the universe, okay? So planets, essences, energies, frequencies outside of our own that have up to this point seemingly been beyond reach. All right, so that's what's being cleared out. Okay, so I don't know where they wanted to go with that, but that's where they were going with the fixed point. So before I continue, there is more coming in, but Brian, I want to give you a chance if you have a question in between, because there's still more coming in.
Yeah. I gotta say this concept of the fixed point still needs a little bit clarification for me personally. How does this tie into this practice of, and I still would love to have the definition of
we're on the train. Oh yeah. So they're just talking about, they're using the term came through me, fixed point, or they said fixed point, fixed meaning more like solid, a more concrete version of what's actually occurring. Okay, versus what we thought was actually occurring because we couldn't see. So the third eye is kind of like a metaphor, right? It's a phrase used to describe our ability to detect something that our physical eyes can't see. And that is probably a very limited definition of what we are thinking of as a third eye. And so, but it provides actually a more solid experience and more truth, more what's going to be understood by intelligences that are higher frequency, right? A more expanded range of frequencies, okay? These types of intelligence will more adhere to what we are discovering. So the Arcturians are talking about this solid fixed point being more of an anchor to the actual reality. What we're living in is not actual reality. And they're saying we didn't mean to cause such a stir with this phrase. We are warned regularly by Yolanda Marie that we will be called to task for these very frisky little phrases that we like to use, because humans do tend to apply such gravitas to these words. Fixed seems immovable, yet everything is moving. It is a contradiction, but we wish to describe this fixed point so that you have something more concrete for your belief system to begin to form around. It is something a little bit more solid as your third dimensional, fourth dimensional, escalating and expanding scientific community begins to discover the true processes of what is happening indeed within an intergalactic experience. The way that they experience involves many more laws, actually, but much different laws as well. The laws that you experience are beholden to a structure that is determined to withhold information from you, and therefore will be less succinct in nature. Things will be deleted, if you will, omitted from the experience. And so you don't really have a firm reality to hold to. Now, but fixed. Of course, nothing is fixed actually, because you are always expanding. So when you come to the brilliant next stage of your expansion, of course, then again, you will learn more. You will expand more outwardly. You will be able to detect more presence of intelligent communication, information, understanding. You will be experiencing on a completely different level. You will eventually move into non-physical expression and a deeper sense of collective expression. And all of these outward ways of experiencing are just a means of your soul, which are combined with each other, combined essences of different selves and different information will just be experiencing in different ways as you move through this experience. We do not speak only of the life, of course, that you are living here, even through this exchange that you are having, even through this evolution that humanity itself, humans themselves as a collective, are experiencing. A metaphysical evolution, an etheric evolution, which we mean spiritual. You are experiencing also, which is going largely undetected by tools, a biological evolution, which is much more expeditious than it has been in prior generations. And so this is what we do want to use the word fixed, but we do not want you to attach to the previous density of that word or the previous weight that has been attached to that word. We want to say again, we want to provide a firmer ground for you to be able to revolve or rotate a new set of beliefs, understanding, skills, perhaps definitions around, which is more rooted in fact. So perhaps we will use the word rooted. Okay, we are the Arcturians. We love you. Okay. That's giving them a minute.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
It seems to me that, and you can correct me if I'm off course, that we're being guided in expanding our perception, our awareness to reality beyond what we may have been perceiving of. And so I think the next best step is a better understanding of what sort of belief systems are we being encouraged to align ourselves with here, and what reality is it that we are being invited into perceiving of.
Okay, well, let us ponder the question that has been posed, as the answers are already in the field. Many who are here have already been activated into the knowledge of what is about to be spoken of. And so you are here with this information already at the forefront of your consciousness. Some of you may already be having answers pop into your head. Not only to this one's beautiful, brilliant questions, but to your own questions, and also to the greater understanding of what has been said up to this point. We wish to move forward with a clear, linear perspective, if you will, into what we are speaking of. Okay, so we're going to talk about motion right now. Okay, this is a major part of understanding what's really going on here. So what has been believed now, this is, the Arcturians are with me and they are guiding what I'm saying. And I am a blended channel. I'm also a trance channel, but I just want to let you know that I'm conscious for this. And right now I'm speaking. So we want to talk about motion, okay? Because okay. So Brian, to answer your questions we'd be answering it for like the hour to talk about everything that we've been taught in school and all of the beliefs about what's solid and what's not and how, things are created and how things come into existence. And then versus where we're going. But the question is extremely important. So it's not that it's not important, it needed to be posed, but it's just, that's why they're going to keep scooting. So that way we can sort of let the information flow together pretty organically. I know you follow what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm for it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So, but it's not because your questions aren't in the field, like being integrated into the conversation. So, all right. So, start again. All right, we want to talk about motion. We are the Arcturians. There are many different belief systems on the planet. And many of these belief systems are centered around many different things. We just want to talk about some beautiful belief systems that may contradict what we are about to say, only to make sure there is a clear line of sight and clear understanding. So when we talk about motion and being passionate about creation, because we're about to talk about that, it does not necessarily have to completely contradict letting go. So letting go is a big part of what humans who are conscious and aware have been learning to do. Okay, continue to practice letting go of what you, in the forefront of your consciousness, think is very, very important. This has been taught widely and brilliantly for thousands of years at this point. Okay, about the letting go process. Through primarily Eastern traditions, but also many native traditions, and some which aren't spoken of, quite frankly, because they are removed quite a bit from society, but they also do not attach necessarily. Okay, so we do not mean for you to begin to attach to things and vigorously desire them and hold them in your consciousness in a way that mimics, or rather imprints, what you understand to be lack consciousness. Okay, so to clear up what the Arcturians are talking about here, if you hold something in your consciousness so much and desire it so much and are constantly reminding yourself that it's not there, well, guess what? It's not going to show up in your experience because you are creating the fact that it's not there. Many of you already understand that. This is what the Arcturians are talking about, okay? So they want to vigorously say that you do want to continue practicing the letting go. So now let's get to what they are talking about. This is what they want you to understand, what they're calling a solid nexus point, if you will, or something a little more solid to grab onto about what's happening in your field, or what your field really is. You are a passionate expression of what is to be. You are the communication. You are the creation. You must remember this at all times. Okay? It's also important to remember what was talked about at the beginning, because this will also contradict you bringing in what you want. If you are holding someone else in judgment at any given time about how it is they're creating what they're creating, you are contradicting bringing in what you want, okay? And so that's a tricky thing too, because you want to be aware, because in order to understand what you want, you must understand what you don't want, right? There's all of that going on. But the Arcturians are just talking about what to focus on. So it's not to not be aware of something, but what are you focusing on? So the word they had me write down, which I don't even know if you guys can see, and it's no big deal because my handwriting is horrible. And also I was really coming out of the meditation. And so it's bad, you guys. But I wrote down the word motion, okay? There's a lot of light there, but it's more about the activation, right? Than having the most beautiful handwriting. But these words were
perfectly. Yeah.
Can you see it? Okay,
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
So the word motion. Okay, when we speak about the word motion, we are actually talking about not only your cellular activity in your physical body, and
Sorry,
not
Yolanda,
only. Oh,
I just
go
want
ahead.
to quickly mention, it just occurred to me that some listeners do receive this as a audio transmission as well. So definitely,
yes.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely make use of the visuals for those that are seeing this as either a video replay or that are here with us. But just kind of being mindful that we also want to take into account the audio listeners.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. Thank you. I needed to know that. Okay. So yeah, there's the word motion written in terrible all caps in red on a whiteboard. Okay, my children write better than I do. All right. So they want to talk about the action of this word and that everything is in action. Okay. And so just hold the image of all of that activity. I mean, if I drew out what they were showing me, it would look like scribble. They're just showing me, and you may be receiving this also, this type of visual where you're seeing cells literally just moving, multiplying. You know, some of them are dying off, some of them are being born. You know, you're seeing all this activity where, well, your field is just like this, okay? There are also, well, let's bring it to the atomic level. Now, this isn't, your field is beyond the atomic level, obviously, but this is a more fair comparison. So if you think about what a molecule is made of, okay, it's made of different atoms, right? And so think of the molecule as being a combination of a couple of different thought form creations. So the thought form creations, we tend to think of them as literally a sentence we thought, and that's normal. But really, this is really more visual, emotional communication. We literally create everything we think, and I know that's insane. Okay, that is an insane way to think about it because it will drive you bananas. But we really, really do. Now, does everything make it to fruition into the physical experience? And especially as what you need it to become? Well, no. So some of this is due actually to a couple of different things. And they had me write some things down as the day went on, okay? But this is due to a couple of different things going on, all right? So part of it is a frequency situation. The entire planet, the frequency is, we're going to say raising, but it's really more like it's just collecting higher frequency information and therefore expanding, we'll call it outwardly. So in our experience, we would think of that almost as getting, you know, bigger, lighter, more in touch, moving faster. Okay, but from different beings' perspectives, this will play out different ways, you know. And so, but for the sake of our conversation here, and I probably will let the Arcturians come through a little bit more because I think it will be clear if they're just speaking it and you guys are just scribbling down what makes sense to you, because it'll come through and it'll make sense and you just write it down, okay? Or you just internalize it. But so what's happening is, now that the frequency is becoming more expanded, you are being put and you are opening your heart more. So your heart consciousness is able to more communicate with said frequencies. you're able to more expeditiously bring these things to fruition all on your own. Now, the Arcturians let me know before coming, before logging on and everything, just at that moment, they said, now remember to tell them there are humans on the planet. Now, this is very important to give you an idea of how powerful you are. There are humans on the planet already who are very, I'm going to use the phrase very native to Earth. Okay. So in other words, they aren't necessarily as extraterrestrial, extragalactic as many of you guys in terms of how many times they've cycled through life on Earth. They've cycled through life on Earth many, many times and kept coming back here for different reasons. Okay. And these beings, because they removed themselves from the presence of other people's fields in terms of their thought process, not necessarily physically, but they understood and believed what they knew to be true so strongly that they literally created miracles on the planet, what we would view as miracles. And this has already been going on for thousands of years, but they are removed from what we think of as media, what we are in touch with. So these would be your, what we would call healers, medicine men, women, sorcerers, magicians, anything like this that it's difficult to believe is true. So that is a thing without even having been as you are, because the majority of you, many, many of you are multidimensional to a very high degree. So at this point, you've come through so many different systems, okay? And then now back to Earth, and you probably feel very out of place because you haven't been necessarily to Earth so much, okay? Your abilities are right on the precipice there. Right on the precipice, but so is your purpose to change the planet. And sometimes they can even get contradictory, and there's the judgment connection. Let go of some of the judgment and some of the fight, if you will. Okay, don't remove all of the awareness from your experience, but just allow, and there's the letting go. Okay, now we're going to paint you a picture here of what this quantum information looks like in your field. Now, the purpose for this is to let you know what's happening just in general in your field, not necessarily, focusing on a particular thing you're trying to create. I mean, you could be trying to bring anything to fruition, that's, especially if it's very important. The more important it is to you, normally, the more difficult it is for you to bring in. It can be because you're so passionate. And so you are creating the imprint of it not being there. Many of you understand that. And by imprint, the Arcturians just mean the quantum expression of it not being there in your field. That's a weird way to say it, but it's the absence of it. Okay. And so, but what's happening is you've got all of this excitatory information occurring in your field at all times that you are not consciously aware of. The more you become consciously aware of how excitatory and passionate your field really is, you will make it more of a conscious, concerted effort to stabilize your field more often. The more stable we will call it quantum information is in your field, the less likely it is to be intercepted by the quantum information of another. Okay, so they really want to talk about that. Brian, you might have questions, and I want to give you a chance to intervene some more, and I'm going to look at exactly the way they said this earlier too. Do you have any questions before I go on?
I think I'm okay to give you the space to continue there.
You want, okay, all right. Hold that thought if you do, because we want to come back to, especially at the end, we want to come back to the more specific questions. I think they just want to keep, you know what I'm saying? Like keep opening it up and keep activating people for a little bit. Okay, so you guys, to make sure that this point gets driven home, I'm actually going to read what was channeled through a little bit earlier, okay? And thank goodness I didn't bother writing it on the whiteboard. All right, because this is going to be much better this way. All right, the Arcturians are saying, and these are some key principles you have to remember. Everything is in motion, and that includes the information in your field, which is what was just said. All right, when someone else's information intercepts this, the reverberation is instantaneous, is the way that they put it. Okay. Now, they were going to say something like this through me, but I stopped because I'm like, the way that it came through was so clear earlier. I want to make sure that this is intelligible for everybody, okay? So when someone else's information intercepts what's already moving in your field, the reverberation is instantaneous. And it's very, very erratic. It's much more erratic than if the information was at rest. So the Arcturians are trying to paint a more frisky, active picture for you. And they want it to be more solid. Like, this is not just like a concept they're talking about. They are talking about this information that is making up your field, that has been created previous to the point that you are now, like the point you are in linear time right now. That's already been created, and it is what you are. It's what presents as you. It's what you project out. It's what, in part, it's partly what others perceive, but what others perceive is what they perceive. So we're not going to worry about that. That's their projection or perception, but it's already been created at that point. And so the Arcturians are saying this is the reason that there's such information or such emphasis. Okay, everywhere you go, no matter what teacher it is, and there are so many good ones, they're going to talk to you about focus. This is why this is so important, what the Arcturians are talking about right now. Okay, focus is super important. And this is why. Okay, they're saying you want to stabilize your desired thought forms. So what they mean, you're not going to understand or perceive yet every bit of information that's in your field. Okay, you're basically, we're going to call it light. It's information is what it is, but we're going to call it light because if we could see a different light spectrum, it would appear as light, like an aura. Okay, so we're going to call this light. And so you're not going to be able to, of course, at this point, tune into these different parts of information in your field, like each one. That's, insane to think about. So what it is, the bits of what it is in your life that are very important to you is what they're talking about here, okay? 5 to 10 things, let's just say for sake of argument, okay? They're saying this is what you want to stabilize, all right, throughout your field. And that's the focus. That's the focus. The focus is not, I want this, I want this, I want this. That's not the focus. That's just want. That's just desire. The focus is, I know this, I know this, I know this. This is what I know. And this is what I be. This is what is occurring. Okay. And just this is. It really doesn't have to have an action because it is action. Everything's always moving. And so here's the reason for that. Okay. And this might be a little different than what you expect, but maybe not, because lots of activations went on this morning before we got here. Okay. So they're saying, okay, I'm still reading you guys. Okay. They're saying now, when you focused on building upon these things, all right, and you stabilize them with that focus, the information, which billions of people are on the planet, and they don't have to be in your physical proximity at all to be interacting with your field. In fact, many times they are interacting with your field much, much more prevalently when they're not in your presence, because you may be thinking about that situation, that person, that thing, whatever it is. Not good or bad, it's just a thing, right? It could be something you love, makes you happy, but it is maybe the opposite of something that you really desire or needs to occur. So as an example, for example. Okay, so that's interacting with your field all of the time. So you want to stabilize the focus on what you know you are to the point that whatever is going to intercept is the word that the Arcturians use, because we're constantly being intercepted. Now, there is another way of looking at this. Okay, now you can, pardon me. Does somebody not want me to say this? All right. Okay. So there's another way of looking at this. Now, you can, of course, protect yourself at all times. You can be putting up energetic walls and wards, and I mean, all the time. And sometimes you will need to do that. Okay, that's actually true. But you may not want to be doing that all of the time. Okay. And also, that can be a contradiction to heart consciousness. You're just reaching someone else's heart with your own heart and co-creating. It can actually get in the way at a certain point. Okay, so that's another good reason to sort of shift the focus a little bit. Again, it doesn't mean ignore everything you know about protection. That's not what's being said. There is a time and a place for everything. The word of the day, the year, okay, the decade, perhaps the century, the millennia is balance. Balance, always. You can put the word balance, insert balance anytime you're unsure about something, okay? And it will turn it right side up. So yes, if you feel something coming into your field, and I know we're all over the place, that's why I was like, guys, grab your paper, and this is what I'm saying. So, but yeah, anytime you feel that something might be, coming into your field, whether it means to or not, intentionally or not, that does not belong there. It is contradictory to either who you are, what you want to produce, and especially if it is harmful, of course, protect yourself, find means of protection. Just wanted, that's a segue, okay? Yeah, but the primary thing that you want to learn how to do is focus into this information that you are. The reason why other, what we call higher life forms, are able to access such different technology, biological technology, okay, so it's very automatic to themselves, even very easy to create. Everything is with ease with many of these higher life forms, is because they are sure. They understand what their field is, what they are, and there's no arguing it. We can go and tell them all day long something different, and their cells agree with their psyche, what I'm going to call a psyche, okay, English words. Everything agrees on what they understand. And this is what the Arcturians meant by they just want to steal their word stabilize, right? Produce a solid sort of point to wrap your heads around as to what's going on in your field that you need to stabilize. Stabilize that knowledge of who you are. Stabilize that knowledge of what you know you want. Now, what you know you want can change. In fact, we are the Arcturians. What you know you are can even change, and that is okay as well. Whatever it changes to, just be assured that that is also okay. There might be subtle shifts, and then just adjust, but then stabilize again. Reroot yourself and ground yourself once again. The fact that these many things are happening on your planet right now is actually going to support your ability to do this, because now you understand that you are supported in different ways. Etherically, it is more open. And also, you might feel a bit of bravery to be self, a bit of bravery and self-expression. This might sneak into your life, in the minutia, in the details, in the tiny moments, little by little. And this will afford you the ability to step more into this solid knowing of who you are in any moment. Okay, those are the Arcturians. I just wanted to say that, okay? Because it is having an effect. It's a chicken or egg situation, right? It's like a cycle. So, the more the planet expands, the more ability you have to flow and just be. And the more you be, the more the planet expands. So it's just going to keep going. Okay, I'm going to continue, all right? Oh, Brian, I'm going to take a moment because I'll just keep talking and then I
Sure.
won't know you have a question.
Okay, let me I think I want to just reflect back some of my understanding, and if
Okay.
there's any gaps here that might want to be filled. One of the things that at least stood out for me was that sometimes the passionate focus on what we want can be almost coming from this lack consciousness that is just perpetuating the experience of it not being there. And it sounds like the alternative, better approach, if you will, is you say stabilizing in the knowledge of who we are. I think I want to bring this, or at least clarify how this comes together with the manifestation. I can phrase that better. How does how do we do this practically? Okay, when the thought is there that here's this thing that wants to be created, how do we shift from this focus of it's not here, I want to create it, to this more stabilized approach rooted in this knowingness of who we are and already being that?
This is a good question. So this is where practice comes in. There's the word no one wants to hear. Just kidding. We all of us, higher beings or not, must have come to a point in our experience where we have had to cycle through so many of these lives, these situations, these things that have happened, that instills the practice of it. At a certain point, you just be it. So to give you an example, if you are a non-physical being, it is easier for you to just be it because you are the field more directly. So when you are in your physical life, you have to, we will use the word try, but in trying, you do. So if you are trying to focus on something, in the moment that you're trying, you're focusing. It only takes a moment. So if you're trying to stabilize this thought form desire in your field, which we prefer that we wish Yolanda could draw better. We will have to come up with her a little better interpretation of this visually, but for these purposes, this is fine. But we would prefer you to visualize something that resembles molecular activity, excitation, when you think of these thought form creations, because that's actually what is occurring in your relevant to your universe, though, relevant to your coming mode of creation. This is the best way we can say that, because at each level of existence, each deep span of evolution, okay, so through many cycles of evolution, this also changes. This is what we are trying to say. So for where you are now and where you will be going in the near future, so for many thousands of years forward, you will be operating as humans. We understand your particular lifespan won't go there, but as humans, you will be operating within these parameters of your experience. And so for you to picture the excitation in this way will activate it a little bit more smoothly, a little bit more efficiently, because it is closer to what is actually occurring. It is closer to what is occurring in terms of linear time. There is another way to also view this, though, but that would negate linear time. And that is that you are all of this at once already. That is also true. However, if you wish to have an experience of the matter, it implies linear time. And as you move through linear time, you move from the not having of it, or the process not being finished, through steps to it being finished in linear time. And this becomes more expeditious, more natural. This is what we are referring to. So Brian, did they answer your question a little bit there? Practice, I think, is
practice.
The word that they
I received practice. I think that that in itself was an answer.
Okay.
No. I just again want to really just solidify that understanding there, in case there's others that are just wanting to ensure that we have it right here. If
that
we
was
had
a great question.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's many others coming through, others that aren't just me, very soon.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
can we say, before we move forward, can we say that to sum up so far, it's the practice of, I like the word stabilizing in this knowingness of who we are and focusing on that.
It is. It's the practice of that in its totality and in a very general sense as well. But now, and they're also showing me, though, this method that they're showing me would have you visualize specifically in this way for a specific type of activation. And to do it again and again in meditation, per se. Okay. So that it becomes more a part of what they previously referred to as a belief system. Okay. That's a funny thing, right? The whole like, belief system, because it can be very negative. Okay. It can be very, this isn't to form some sort of thought process that cannot be molded or shifted later. And that's the only thing you can believe. And no, 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 no. But it's just more of a solid inner knowing type of deal. Everything is malleable, but the Arcturians are just trying to give us a way to understand what is very, very close to, I'm going to use the word scientifically, but I don't mean 3D scientifically, but more of a way to really think about what's happening, because your brain is going to then literally make a connection to that, and it's going to practice seeing it that way. And then your body and the way your actions outside of that are going to start to behave in ways that pull in what matches what you have created. So all of these things work together. The impulse from your brain, the action that it creates, bringing it into your field as part of your field, and then it just being. And many of you may understand, and many of you may be coming into the understanding that once you know something to be, it will be in your reality, one way or the other. Once you just know it to be, it will just be showing up. And that's good or bad. So, yeah, another reason to think about focus, where to focus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. They're harping on that, Brian. It's not a normal thing. Like normally it's very, and I keep wanting to say we, because I feel like it is a we, but we're very, much more open and malleable and broad, and it still feels like it is. It's not like somebody's trying to beat you over the head, but I think they just want to drive that point home, though. Like they are saying specifically, think of it as it relates like a parallel to molecular activity, I guess, or yeah, like at an atomic level. Only it's, and somebody in the comments said the morphogenetic field is made of subatomic particles, so it's okay. So they get like, I think they're just trying to make a visual connection to the light excitation, and what it is information.
Mm.
So guys, always be thinking of your field and yourself as information all the time. Okay, so we know we have these things that we call chakras. These are portals, right? This is loaded with information, and the information is at particular frequencies that have a different modes of operation. Okay, they allow different sorts of information in. So that's just an example. But all of your information, that sounds so disconnected from God, but it's not disconnected from God. You are a spark of God. We are all God. Okay. So, but for the purposes of creating and just cutting to the chase, they're just saying, think of it like information in your field, and it needs to be nurtured. Think about when you were in grade school and you learned a fact and you thought of it as a hard fact. And then it became a hard fact in your reality, and you use that hard fact, use that math. 2 + 2 is 4. Okay. It doesn't mean you can't, learn it in from a broader perspective later. And then you learn a little calculus, some trigonometry, whatever. Okay. Or you apply it in different ways, and then you see it differently. But I think they're just trying to break it down, like just it's information, period. All
Can
right.
we
Now I feel
say
like I
that
am beating you over the head.
um, can we say that the information pertaining to the fulfillment of these thought forms manifested, whatever that might be,
Mhm.
is always present and awaiting to be activated in our consciousness? Is that a fair way of conceptualizing it?
Right, because everything already is. This is very, very true. Another chicken or egg situation. I love these. Yes, everything already is. Uh, and so, yeah, it's waiting to be activated, good or bad. This is true. Or what we perceive as bad, right? What's good and bad, but wanted or not. Maybe we put it that way, right? Um, and so, but the power that you have to either nullify it or amplify it is immense, and it has increased over the past 4 years. But, honestly, even over the past year, things are escalating very, very, very quickly now, in terms of our ability to expand to these higher points of consciousness, which allow us to more quickly access our own information, for example.
Yolanda, is there perhaps a are is there more that wants to come through, or a way to just kind of bring this to a full circle completion for our conversation together?
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm peeking right now. I've got my note cheat sheet. Hang on one second here. All right. So there is one other thing that they're giving me in my mind's eye that I needed to show you guys. It involves me drawing something, so I probably won't worry about it. And honestly, you guys would thank me later. It wouldn't be very good anyway. But I will probably describe that to you. But because it plays an important part also in how you see the process as it pertains to co-creation, but also staying the course, like sort of staying, which a lot of what we've talked about is about staying the course. But again, it's one of these more specific things, but it's not as solid. This one's more of a concept, what I'm going to describe. But okay, I think we covered everything they talked about. I just wanted to make sure. Yeah. And they did say that this can also, here's the way they described it. Okay. I'm just going to read this because I don't want to flub it up. Okay. They said it's really more advantageous to you at this point to begin looking more closely into the more relevant nature of your existence, which is what we've been doing to them. This is their words. They're just calling it kind of a more relevant, way that you actually are versus what we thought we were. Okay. That's all they mean. And then what your life force is actually made of, which is what they're describing. Okay. Rather than say something more, what's the word, empirical in nature. So, one of the sciences, which the sciences aren't bad, they're also going to expand. Okay, many of you know that. So this isn't like some sort of witch hunt on, I love scientists. Are you kidding me? I kind of am one. For those of you that don't know, I have a degree in psychology. And many people don't think that's a science. Okay, haha, that is a science, but it's a social science. But yeah, the scientific community will also expand. Many of them are awakening or are already awakened. But it's important. You guys are actually, yes, there are some people in the scientific community who are waking up in terms of information and what they trust and believe. But you guys are actually providing the frequency. You're actually getting the information directly, okay, which is going to be activated more into you today. And you are privy to much higher knowledge than what is being discovered right now. Even what's actually been hidden, that we don't know, you have access to higher knowledge than what they think, than what's hidden. You okay? This is what is going to be a magnificent, we'll call it a discovery here in the next decade or so. Decade? Maybe a couple of decades. I'm really getting like maybe a decade though, maybe that soon. Okay. We all know how time is, but things are they're already coming out anyway. but more of your higher knowledge is going to be implemented sooner than you think. That's what's being said right now. So trust what you're getting. Trust what you're getting. And they're saying, yeah, you can relate this to things in those empirical fields, right? Such as like you could relate it to the building blocks of your personality, the building blocks of the physical body, like cellular reproduction, all of that. There's kind of a correlation. And what they mean by that is what's going on in your field, what you are, okay, what's going on in this excitation of energy in your field, which is actually the information that's creating your experience, can be directly, paralleled with how they might train you if you go to, say, a psychiatrist and they train you how to believe, in yourself more. And unfortunately, they'll give you well, maybe it's not so unfortunate necessarily, but you'll get some outside help there too, with some physical medication perhaps, or a psychologist will retrain you, or a medical doctor or a physical trainer will train you. Those are all not necessarily good or bad, but this is another level. This is a more expanded level. If you understand the field that you're made of, but not only understand it, but practice it. Practice it more passionately. Practice it more passionately. If you leave this class and literally go home today and meditate and begin to picture what's been said, and don't even try to make yourself remember everything. Just go, okay, what's this energetic molecule thingy that she talked about, this lady? All right, and just get ready to meditate and just sort of start to picture. And you can even ask your guides, your higher self, whoever angels, all of you guys are different. So whoever you're comfortable communicating with, or just self, and of course, God, okay, God, the goddess, whatever it is. Okay, send me that image of what these creative molecules are. And we're just using the word molecules. Send me the image of what these are that my field is actually made of, that creates this image that looks like me, that creates my experience. I want to see this. Okay. And then whatever comes to you, believe it. Believe yourself, okay? Believe it, and then put what it is you desire together. Begin to put it together, okay? Begin to put those things together. Yes, there's other stuff in your field that you're not thinking about. That's fine. That's just going to sort of be there, and it's going to be either less and less, or it might come in later when needed. It's going to make up your experience in some way, but it won't be the dominant part of your experience. Brian, just one more thing, and I know we got to get to the rest of it here. The thing that they were showing me in my mind's eye was two streams. So often when they speak through me, they talk about a quantum stream. So, and they are talking about staying focused in your stream. Like imagine like a school of fish swimming. This is like going to be super simple, okay? But this is how it's coming to me. So hopefully it's not like oversimplified, but like imagine a school of fish. And then of course you have a totally different school of fish that might come by, and they're going to, they're going to react to each other. Like one school of fish might move off, they might even collide, some of them, it just depends on what's going on with the water. This is just a simplified example. So this quantum energy, and it's all overlapping, by the way. So we're all overlapping anyway, but remember, some of the information in your field is dominant. Some of it's not, okay? So if you focus on what you really know to be you, so it's what you desire is now what you know, right? The things that bring joy, bring happiness, bring the state of existence that you require to be happy and fulfilled on this planet, focus on those things. Then as these school of fish are swimming around you, if they swim with you to co-create, the dominant things are magnetized. So you'll hear this different ways, also from different teachers, and it's true. They're just saying it a different way. The Arcturians are just talking about the specific molecule. They're talking about the thought form energy, basically, as a real thing rather than a concept. It's going to help all of this occur quite a bit more quickly for you if it comes out of conceptualization and into fact. Make sense? Don't get scared. You can toss that fact away anytime. This is not a recruitment. This is just... All right. Okay, Brian, I think that's it. I promise.
Not quite, especially not for the ones that are here with us
That's
live.
right.
which I do want to begin to hear from, because I'm so sure that there's going to be quite a bit of questions that are coming from the group here. But before that, for the podcast listeners, I have one final question for you, Yolanda, to wrap our conversation up. You ready for it? This is the grand finale.
Okay.
You just actualize the ability to telepathically communicate to all of humanity. What do you say?
You say that again. So I just actualized the ability to telepathically communicate
to all of humanity.
To all of humanity. Okay, well, I say bring it on. I say welcome, and you're welcome. No,
You feel complete?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well then, sister, I want to thank you for this conversation that we got to have, and for your service to humanity, because you've been at it, and I've had the opportunity to witness it for these past few years now, and I'm inspired by how you how consistently you show up for us and our collective. So with that, I want to thank you for joining me again on the show.
Thank you for having me, Brian. I just want to say you're such a natural teacher. And I don't know how many of you already knew Brian before you came like into this, speaking of quantum stream, but into this feed. He is a brilliant natural teacher. He teaches with his field. He teaches through example. He is very, very tuned in. He's very conscious. And I don't know if you would agree with this yourself, Brian, because I know how we as humans can be with ourselves. But you're very conscious all of the time of your field. Your practice is very, it's not only hands-on, but it's ongoing. You live what you teach. Is that a way to say you live what you teach at the very deepest levels? I appreciate you for that. And so I just didn't know if everybody already knew that about you, but yeah, you're pretty awesome. So for those who don't know, you should check out more of Brian's his own teachings, but also other people that he does these podcasts with.
It means the world coming from you. Senders, that is going to be all for my conversation with the Arcturians and Yolanda Marie. I trust that it was able to support you in stabilizing and activating the thought forms of your desires, so that they then become manifested in this reality. Because we are quantum beings, and our power to create our realities runs deeper than just the actions that we take in this 3D physical reality. And mastery over this, quantum mastery, is the next step for you and for us as a collective to take in our ascension process. And if you're looking to take this step alongside other ascenders, well, this is exactly what we've come together for in the Ascend Academy. We're looking for those that have heard the call to assist in collective ascension, and we are coming together to learn from and with each other and ascend together. If you're interested in checking us out and perhaps joining us at a future Awaken Live gathering, where you'll have the opportunity to ask the guests who you have on the show your own questions, I invite you to head on over to academy.togetherweascend.com, where you can sign up for our platform for free and be kept in the loop of all our future gatherings and events. And lastly, Ascenders, before you go, I want to hear from you and what came up for you in listening to this episode. If you're listening to this on a platform like Spotify and YouTube that has a comment section, leave me one and let me know what you thought about the episode. And lastly, if you feel like this content has supported you, I'm going to humbly ask that you take a moment to head on over to either Apple Podcasts or Spotify to leave us a review. This really helps us grow the show and get this content out to more people. With that, Ascenders, I want to once again thank you for tuning in and for being here with us on this planet at this time, in this moment of our ascension. And until next time, keep ascending.